Hello everyone, amateur meteorologist FirstinWeather here. It is February 10th, 2019, and January was, as expected, an uneventful month for much of the East Coast. And as we have kicked off February, we're pretty much done with the first third of the month. It has been very active for the western United States and also upper Midwest. In fact, Seattle just saw a very rare snowstorm, a big snowstorm a couple of days ago. Many locations saw up to 8 inches of snow in the suburbs of Seattle, so definitely very unusual there. And here's why. This is why they saw that big snowstorm. If we go to the upright dynamics and the 500 millibar, we can see that there is just an absolutely massive trough for the west coast. Very negative P&A. And that's basically exactly what you don't want for East Coast snowstorms. So you have a huge trough in the west, making that cold air pour in, right? Ridge in the east, warm air rising up from the Gulf of Mexico into the eastern United States, and that's why we've just been so above average recently. That's why we saw that really warm week, because those P&A values were just through the roof in terms of being negative. And that's why the West Coast is also seeing storm after storm coming in from the northwest, delivering that snow and cold air to these regions right here. So definitely a very stormy and active pattern for the western United States, with a very wet but warm pattern for the eastern United States, as these systems go basically like this, become cold fronts, alright, and then you just have not thunderstorms, but rain, warm temperatures, and then just some snow on the backside. So really not an ideal pattern for the eastern half of the country. The only area where it is ideal for the where east of the Mississippi is basically in these areas, or west of the Mississippi is these areas right here, where you get that backside of the system delivering in that cold air, where things then go to snow. And then of course this area right here has been prime for snowy and wintry weather for the past 3 weeks or so. So I know a lot of you guys are disappointed with this winter, because quite frankly, this was supposed to be the winter where the records were broken, where the East Coast saw snowstorm after snowstorm and record cold, and that just did not shape out. And you might have seen a lot of other meteorologists forecasting this, but again, in my winter forecast, I was saying that we would see the core of the cold air locked up in the upper Midwest, and that's how it was in January. Now we're just seeing this brief warm spell for the past week or so. But definitely there's been a big snow drop on cities along I-95. Definitely has been below average in terms of snowfall and record cold, which was anticipated by other forecasters. And definitely, even I did not anticipate this record cold in the western portion of the country. I actually expected well above average temperatures in these areas. So definitely not what I was expecting. Again, this big trough in the west is just for the past week or so, but the west definitely has been cooler than what I was anticipating. But anyways, as we go through with the upper dynamics, this is February 11th, so we still have that ridge in place, dominant ridge, right? That ridge then breaks down a little bit or moves away about February 13th, having a little upper level disturbance. That goes through, and then you still have troughing in the west, still have cold air, so that's still not good. That's not good at all for snowstorms in the east. And whenever you have troughing in the west, that basically eliminates any chance for a significant snowstorm in the eastern portion of the country. That continues, and then we see maybe a good shot of cold air that goes on out of here, and then we just have more of these little split flows like this, that. So yeah, so generally just very unfavorable, but at the end of this model run, things do get a little bit colder for the east, and if we go to the precip component, you can see that the model does try to show a little more storminess in the east, but still definitely not an ideal pattern at all for snowstorms and wintry weather in the east. In fact, I think the best area probably right now is the sweet spot. If there was one, probably be right here. That's the sweet spot for wintry weather over the next 3 weeks, and even there, it's not really looking that big. There's not going to be any big snowstorms, but just in those areas, you're going to be seeing occasional snow from these systems going to the east of you, like this. Right? So again, very unfavorable for at least the next 15 days or so. Before we might actually finally see some possible changes. But again, that's been the story this entire winter. about 10 or 15 days before we see that pattern change. That pattern change never really fully got set in place. And if we look at the MJO, the Madden-Julian oscillation, we can see that a lot of the models are predicting this to go, the MJO to go into phase 8 by around February 20th or so. And basically, whenever you're in phases 3, 2, 1, or 8, that is favorable for East Coast snowstorms. When you've been in 6, 7, 5, and 4, that is not favorable at all. You have ridging in the east, while in 8, 1, 2, and 3, you have troughing in the east and storming pattern. And basically for this winter, we've been predominantly in the 5, 6, and 7 pattern, which is a major reason why we really haven't seen big-time snowstorms in the east. And the other reason why is because the NAO has been very positive this winter. If you recall my winter forecast, I said the NAO would be positive this winter, which would allow ridging in the east, which would then make the Midwest see the worst of the winter this year. And that really has played out. We've seen the NAO being positive basically all of January and February, leading to warm temperatures in the east at times, and storm systems basically tracking west of the Mississippi, basically putting the East Coast in the warm sector. However, there is some good model consensus that later this month we will go into phase 8 and then just meander around into phase 1 potentially. And if we look at some of the other models and see what they're thinking, this one also shows the compilation from this one shows it going into phase 7 and then going into phase 8 eventually. And the ECMF, you can see it. This one is more direct. It goes straight into phase 8 and then phase 1. So if this does verify, which is still very up in the air because this is what the models have been showing all year, it going to 8, 1, and 2, and 3, and just not materializing. If this does materialize, I do feel like we could see increased chances for snow in the east after about February 23rd, but again, by then the sun angle is high, average temperatures are much higher, so the chances for a major East Coast snowstorm in the mid-Atlantic will be much lower. This would mainly be in the Northeast, where we still have temperatures average or historically cold enough for big-time snowstorms. That doesn't mean that the mid-Atlantic area won't see big-time snow, but there would just be higher chances for mixing and more of a mixing scenario with rain and snow. So again, to summarize, the pattern is going to be very unfavorable over the next 15 days or so. We're going to have troughing in the west, all right, ridging in the east, all right, very unfavorable for these areas. This winter has just been kind of poop for you guys, while in this area it's been quite nice. But again, if that phase change in the MJO does occur and we go to 8, 1, 2, and 3, I do think we could maybe see some troughing in the east and that NAO turning a little negative, maybe, with some storm systems going like this. But again, that's a big if. Right now, I feel like the winter's pretty much done for anyone along I-95. You might see a couple of snowstorms if you get lucky after February 25th. But yeah, this winter's pretty much in the books. The chances of now seeing some record snowstorms in a row are now significantly lower. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry for the bad news for you snow lovers, but hey, there's always next winter. And so also stay tuned for my spring forecast, which will be coming out in about a month or so, or not, actually less than a month, about 20 days. Meteorological spring starts in March and lasts through May. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.